if your righteousness does not exceed the scribes and the Pharisees. So next question is, who are the scribes and the Pharisees? The scribes and the Pharisees, the scribes particularly, were experts who tried to interpret the law and apply it to everyday life. The 10 Commandments were more like broad principles. It was the scribes who took it as a point of duty to now interpret or break down these principles as it affects you every day. It's like legislators. Legislators make law, Abi. But who interprets the law? The courts. Abi? Nigerian law can say this and this and this. You may not know the different shades of that law until a lawyer begins to tell you, isn't it? And stuff like that. So those were what the scribes did. The 10 Commandments were more like broad principles. The scribes now took it to break them down. But the problem is that they went overboard and they made their little piecemeal interpretations to now overshadow the main thing. That was their problem. Okay, the commandments of the Sabbath, keep the Sabbath day holy, means you should not work on the Sabbath, right? You know that can mean a whole lot of things. So for the scribes now, the first question they asked is, okay, keeping the Sabbath day means not working. Then they now want to define what is work. You have to define work to know what is work so that you avoid it. And they gave a lot of things that include work in different headings. One of the headings of things that include work is burden. So if you bear any burden on Sabbath day, you have broken the Sabbath. And then they also need to define what is burden. And they went down to break burdens. They say if you take oil that is sufficient enough to rub on an injury, that's a burden. You have worked on Sabbath. Or if you take water, quantity sufficient enough to moisten your eyes, that's burden. A quantity of water you need to moisten your eyes is not even up to a cup of water, right? But they say if you go to fetch it, you have already gone against the Sabbath, the law. That's burden. If a tailor carries needle, that's a burden. You have broken the Sabbath. Even healing on a Sabbath day is work. To heal is a work. So if you heal on Sabbath, you have done what? You have broken the Sabbath. Do you now remember why they had problems with Jesus when Jesus healed at the Sabbath? Do you remember? I can't remember the particular chapter now, but there was a time there was a man with a withered hand. And the Bible says Jesus saw the man. The man was looking at Jesus pleadingly. I'm not sure the man talked because the man was surrounded by the scribes and Pharisees. He understood the danger of what he was about to ask. So it's like the man kept quiet and was praying in his heart, Lord, please let this man notice me. And Jesus noticed him. Then the Bible said the scribes and Pharisees, they were looking at Jesus to see what he would do. That was a Sabbath. And Jesus knew their hearts. You know, you get that somebody go look, you know what the person carry for mind. Then Jesus now called the man and said, come and stand there. The man stood. And then he now turned to the scribes and Pharisees and said, which of you? No, I think the question is asked, is it good to do good on a Sabbath or not? They didn't answer. Is it right to do good on a Sabbath or not? They didn't answer. They refused to answer because they know that the obvious answer is it is good. Healing somebody, is it a good thing? Definitely. So why can't I do it on the Sabbath? So they understood and they kept quiet. That's when Jesus, I'm sure Jesus would have said, I'm sure that's, you know, you are musu when you stand against good thing happening. If you read that passage, the Bible says Jesus was disturbed in the heart. How can human beings be so wicked, so hard-hearted, that they want to prevent good thing happening to another person in the guise of keeping a law? In other words, what kind of law stops you from doing good? That law cannot come from God. And the Bible says, Jesus just kept quiet and told the man, stretch your hand, and the man stretched his hand and the hand was hid. And the Bible says from that day, they started looking for what to use against him, because as far as they are concerned, he has broken the Sabbath. So those were their little interpretation. Even there's writing. If you write 2 letters, you have broken the law. But they went further and said it depends on the ink. If you use an ink that will make it visible, you have broken the law. But if you write with something that can be cleaned immediately, you have not broken the. Are you Jesus? So they were legalistic. They multiplied, and then the problem is that these their little multiplications now overshadowed the whole idea or the spirit of the law. The reason why God gave them all that.
Sign up with the largest community of Catholics online. Meet new friends, chat, post pictures and videos, make and receive audios and video calls, interact with lots of priests and religions. Download the app from Google Play Store.